Germany just last week, in cahoots with Russia, Iran, and Turkey, are trying to create a new payment system that doesn't include the US dollar. And if they're successful, that's when the dollar will start losing its value because people won't need it to trade anymore. And then that's when you'll see gold skyrocketing, you'll see the stock market crashing, and you'll see those kind of things happening.
Hey friends, thanks so much for tuning in. It is great to have you back, and it's great to have back on the line Bob Kudla from Trade Genius. He's the founder. The website is tradelikeagenius.com, and Bob's going to be talking about all things economic. There are massive disruptions coming, according to Bob, and I think he may be right. Kim.com himself is saying, trust me, buy crypto and gold, your USD will become worthless. Bob, welcome back.
Hey, Sean, thanks for having me. And I feel like I'm in great company with him. He's a pretty visionary guy.
He sure is, and he's been a target of the U.S. government, as you know, mega upload, but he's very vocal. He says he has the facts that he's more than happy to share with Robert Mueller, that it was Seth Rich who was the DNC leaker, but strangely, Mueller doesn't want anything to do with that information, and he doesn't want to hear Kim.com's testimony. But before we get into the thick of it, tell people a little bit about tradelikeagenius.com. You're the founder, and I'll tell you, I used to do a little trading back in the day when that type of thing was in vogue, back around the tech bubble time. I was terrible at it. It's just awful. Most people are awful at it. How do you make money doing that?
Yeah, so thanks for letting me talk about it. What we do is that we provide education, number one. Number two is we provide signals to help people buy and sell at the right time. And how we did that was we developed a methodology, and then we created algorithms from that methodology. And that methodology gives us what we call high probability setups of when to buy and when to sell. And we've been doing this for a long time. I've been trading since 1991, and I've been trading with the Signal service since 2011. And my partner who trades the cryptocurrencies was a miner that started in 2011. And so we've been doing this for a long time. And really it is, you have to have an edge, you have to have a method, and you have to really understand what are the important metrics that actually move the stock market. And it's very, very simple, but people try to overcomplicate it. So we make it simple for people. We try to take the mystery out of it. And then we just help people make money every day in the market. We're not the hey to buy the Lambo guys. We're pretty much grind it out every day and just make money. And then over time, your wealth will build. And we get you in the right things at the right time. And my background is that I spent 20 years as a corporate executive, and I spent my time doing mergers and acquisitions, and I did strategic planning. So it's in my DNA to look around the corners and see what's coming next. And you make the most money when you can position yourself just ahead of those changes. And that's what we're doing at Trade Genius. It works well. We do stocks, we do options, we do cryptocurrencies, and we do really well for people. So go to tradelikeagenius.com. And then the other thing too is for your listeners, Sean, is that they use a promotion code called TG45. Anything that they can buy in what's called the signals or the software area, they get 45% off the pricing there. And then on the front page of tradelikeagenius.com, we have a series of bundles that people can buy that are already discounted significantly. And those are available to the end of this weekend, and encourage people to take advantage of them. We try to make what we do very affordable for people.
All right, very good. And let's talk then about the economy. I've said that our cup is half full because the Wicked Witch didn't get into the White House. I think she would have put the final nails in the coffin of the Republic. And that goes for everything from the economy to probably launching us into more wars and potentially a new world war with Russia. You've predicted massive disruptions are coming. Why are you saying that, and when do you see these disruptions coming? I would have expected that for sure under a Hillary Clinton presidency, but my spirits are buoyed that President Trump is in there, and I think he's trying to do good things for the economy. But yes. Where's he going wrong?
No, Trump is doing everything that he can, and he's doing it right. It's just that he's rowing a boat up floodwaters coming against him. So, the Trump doctrine that I call it for economics is that what he's trying to do is he's trying to balance our trade imbalances. And when you do that, you can balance our fiscal imbalances. And when you do those things, then the wealth comes back into the country. but he's being fought tooth and nail by the global and the elites and the European bankers who really like the way things were. These guys would rather just be wealthy themselves and accumulate all the power and all the wealth instead of having it being shared by all the people in the middle class. Trump's a populist, so he wants everybody to win with him. That's his DNA. But what the bankers are doing is that in order to keep their wealth intact, they're creating more and more what they call derivatives, and they're eliminating all the safe havens for people to make money. So last Sunday, first time ever in economics, is that you had the bond market shorts, which means people pushing people out of the bond market into the stock market. The biggest positioning against that ever. Gold, the biggest short positioning ever. Volatility, the biggest short positioning ever. And what that means, bottom line, is that the bankers are using incredible amounts of debt to create these derivatives to push people only into the stock market. And when this thing unwinds, Sean, this is when the stock market can go down 15 and 20% in one go. And that's what happened in February, if you recall, when the stock market went down 12% in 6 days. And in 2016, it went down 20% in 1 month. And because these derivatives blow up. And that's just going to happen again. There's no way around it. It's just simple math, simple physics. There's too many people piled on one end or the other on these trades, and they have to get unwound. Now, what Kim.com was talking about is that what Trump has been doing has been supporting the dollar. And when you support the dollar, you support the wealth of our nation. And there's forces at work are trying to just eliminate our dollar. Germany just last week, in cahoots with Russia, Iran, and Turkey, are trying to create a new payment system that doesn't include the US dollar. And if they're successful, that's when the dollar will start losing its value, and because people won't need it to trade anymore. And then that's when you'll see gold skyrocketing, you'll see the stock market crashing, and you'll see those kind of things happening. So Trump is the last finger in the dike. And if he's not successful, then this whole thing unravels pretty well.
All right. Well, let me ask you this. What do you think the emerging markets are telling us? What do you see with the global markets right now? Concern?
Well, yeah, I mean, the global markets are in big trouble, and that's why I'm not too worried about short term with the dollar, because, where else are people going to put their money? But yeah, the emerging markets are in big trouble. Brazil is in big trouble. Turkey's in big trouble. South Africa is in big trouble on many fronts. And Venezuela, is a basket case. And Russia's not doing much better. And people don't even realize that China is one big debt bubble. People don't realize that China's debt to GDP is over 300%. That's 3 times our debt to GDP. And people think China's the next it. It's not. And so emerging markets, I would tell people, steer clear of. What I'm telling people to do is to start rolling out of the stock market, start rolling into the bond market, start rolling into precious metals and miners, because that's where it's going to be safe on this next disruption.
Can I ask you about silver specifically? I like gold too, but silver's pretty much the poor man's gold. And I'm still shocked to see silver floundering around $15 an ounce. But you and I both know why that is. They're throwing billions of paper ounces at the market. They're shorting silver through paper markets. And when I say they, I mean JP Morgan and other criminal banks. And they get away with it. They've been getting away with it for as long as I've been following the story. And it's hard to imagine a time where silver will ever be allowed to trade freely. Do you see that time ever coming?
Yeah, I mean, look, we've heard this, when I started trading, one of the first places we made a lot of money is when silver took off, in the early 2000s, and then it took off again going into 2011. It gets to the point where they just simply cannot hold it back anymore. And JP Morgan is amassed a huge portfolio for themselves. So once they feel they have enough, they're going to turn those shorts off, Sean, and you'll see a double and triple in silver in months. And I just tell people, be thankful that you're able to get this thing on sale, and just be patient. You're going to make a lot of money in silver. When this happened last time, when people traded the silver miners, we were making 400-500% a year trading the miners and the junior miners, and those days are going to happen again. There's just no doubt about it. It's just people be patient. At some point, they just cannot shove any more paper money or paper shorts at this anymore.
Let's talk about JP Morgan's hoard. Do you have any idea why they're, I mean, I do. I think we both would guess why they're hoarding silver. It's very valuable, but you mentioned their hoard. It's one of the largest hoards, maybe the largest hoard of silver, physical silver, in the history of the world. Why is this one criminal bank so interested in hoarding physical silver, in your opinion?
Well, I think what's going to happen is that they're going to change the and allow precious metals to be what's called a tier 1 asset that they can then use against future lending. Number one. Number two is that JP Morgan probably knows what's going to happen with the dollar. And, of all the people, they might be criminals, but they're the smartest criminals in the bunch. And so, I watch what Jamie Dimon does. I don't watch what he says. And he's accumulating silver. And I think he's doing it to protect any losses he's going to have on his books from these defaults that are going to come in credit cards and in real estate and in business loans.
All right. Well, you're right. They are probably the smartest criminals around. But, you don't have to be that smart when you control the game. It's a rigged game that they control, right? I mean, I think there was it last year? There was only 2 trading days in which they lost money or something absolutely ridiculously impossible. But, when you set the rules of the game and you rig the game and you're allowed to rig the game, I guess it's easy to look like the smartest guys in the room. Let's talk crypto. So Kim.com said Bitcoin. I want your thoughts on Bitcoin. I own a very little bit of Bitcoin, and I recommended people maybe just take a flyer on Bitcoin back when it was around $600 per coin, just simply because I figured if it ever ran to a new high, and at that point the high was around 2,000, you're going to feel sick to your stomach if you don't at least have a little bit. And so that thesis played out. I think it's somewhere around 5,000 to 6,000 now, 7,000, whatever. I don't really follow it every day. But my question is, do you think Bitcoin has the potential to skyrocket again? I feel like it's been capped somehow ever since December, and I don't know exactly how they would be manipulating it, because with only 16 million of them in existence, you can easily make the case for the thing going to 100,000 each. What do you make of Bitcoin? Do you own any? Would you recommend people buy it, and where do you see it going?
Yes, I own it. Yes, we own it. Yes, we recommend it. And yes, they've been capping it, but you have to bear in mind, Sean, is that I think that bubble they put in place last year was the artificial move. Bitcoin's at 6,400. It had a pop a couple of days ago up to 6,900 and came back. The hands are being moved from the retail people to the professional people. And once enough of those hands get put in place in terms of their positioning, they're going to let it move up again. Look, there's a reason why they've not squashed the cryptocurrencies. The elites need a non-banking solution in order to protect their wealth, because they know the banks are in big trouble when this thing goes into the next recession. So, I think it's going to go up. And what's really holding it back is the same reason it's holding silver back, holding the bonds back, and holding volatility down, is that they're trying to do everything they can to make the stock market look good, because it's the most visible thing people see day in and day out. And if the stock market starts getting hinky, it'll shut off people's spending and shut off people's desire to grow the economy or to take risk. And they're doing everything they can to keep that from happening.
Well, let me ask you this then. It seems, I don't know why this is, but it does seem hard at this point, because of the plunge protection team and the manipulation of the markets. It seems increasingly difficult to imagine the collapse that we all know is coming, because it just seems that all the stops are in place to prevent it. But you and I both know that the smartest money gets out before the crash happens, and they go short the right sectors and they go long the right sectors, like the miners that are all beat up, and they'll do it again. And the question is, are they in the process of doing that now? Are they in the process of getting out at the tops and getting into where they should be for when the collapse comes? And if that's the case, where should we all be going?
Well, I mean, look, JP Morgan can't hide that he's buying silver. So I would tell people to buy silver, number one. And number two is there's a chart out there. Maybe next time we talk, I'll get access to it so you can have it. It's called the Smart Money, Dumb Money Index. And the smart money's been outflowing all year. So they've been slowly taking positions off all year long. They can't move fast, Sean, because they're too big. And what they've been doing is they've been trying to make retail move into it, and like they did in 2008. They pushed retail into the stock market, and then they rolled over the markets hard. But what's different this time is that I think they're really worried about the pension funds and the disruption that it's going to cause, to the people that are in power. And I'm not talking necessarily about Trump. I'm talking about, the elites, the Democratic machine. Most of those people have pensions, and I think that's what's keeping it up. They have to keep this thing going 8% a year for the next probably 7 to 10 years, so those pensions can pay out. So I wouldn't be surprised at all. That's why I always tell people I think it's the Great Reset. I don't think we're going to have a 29 crash. I don't think we're going to have a 2008 crash. I don't think we're going to have stagflation of the 70s. I think we're going to have this thing where you basically called an inflationary depression, where things of financial assets keep going up in value against what your ability to earn is. Look, you just look at homes. I mean, the affordability index of homes at an all-time low. The affordability of index on stocks is at an all-time low. Yet those things are at all-time highs. And I think that's what's causing the problem here for people, is that on the surface, everything looks great. But underneath, people can't afford anything. I was just talking to somebody the other day that says, I can never ever hope to afford to buy a home, and I make 6 figures a year in California. I mean, that's an indictment as to what they've done to us. And I think they're going to keep doing it because they're going to pay off the people that support their agenda. And that agenda does not include people like us who have small businesses, work hard every day. It's going to be all the people closest to the money and closest to the politics, is the pension funds, the state workers and federal workers, and those unions that are associated with it.
Well, you mentioned California, and just as a really sad and disgusting aside, I'll share this. San Francisco poop patrollers make $185,000 a year. You can't make this stuff up. They've allowed that city to literally turn into a gutter because of their, I guess, safe city statuses. Sanctuary city. It's just beyond the pale what's going on in California. And Bob, I've been saying for a long time now here that California needs to be broken up into at least 4 or 5 different states, because it is just abysmal what is going, like the bureaucrats in Sacramento, if allowed to, will destroy that state. I mean, they're in the process of destroying it. They want to move towards full-blown communism.
Yeah, it's amazing because I live here, and I've lived here for a long time, is you just watch the most bizarre legislations that, like right now, they're talking about providing state-provided bail for anybody who's arrested. I mean, that's just like saying, you get caught doing a crime, we're going to put you back on the street, and hopefully we can catch you. But if we can't catch you, the bail that normally a family member would have to put up is now the state's going to eat it. And the whole thing with the straws is another crazy thing that they're doing. And at the same time, they're cutting water off for the farmers, and people don't realize the impact that will have on the United States in terms of food production if they continue to keep turning the taps off in the Central Valley. Most of people's vegetables, we can't import this stuff, and especially if the dollar goes, they don't care right now. We can't get eggs here anymore because of the chicken rules. We can't get milk anymore because of the cow flatulence rules. And it's going to get to a point where people are going to start starving to death. And I mean that hyperbolically, but things are getting, we pay twice as much money for these things because of these idiots in Sacramento.
Yeah, well, and a lot of it is UN Agenda 21 policies that are rolling out in California. And they're rolling out faster and faster because so much of this stuff is done in secret. And I think at the end of the day, it becomes real clear what would have been going on nationally if Hillary Clinton got into the White House, because many of the things we see going on in California are the same types of things that she would have gleefully rolled out nationally. As you remember, she told Goldman Sachs she has a public position and a private position on every issue, which means she's a liar. She tells the people one thing, and then she tells the people who pay her what she's going to do for them in secret. And it's that type of corruption that we need to bring to justice, Bob. I mean, that's the only way we turn this thing around, is to jail the hardcore criminals. And it's always nice to have conversations like this with somebody like you because we're like-minded people and our listeners are like-minded people. And we know that it's the Bill of Rights and the Constitution that is paramount. Without those two things, we are dead in the water. So I guess your final thoughts on any of this before we part ways.
Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, we talked about some negative things here, but you and I are both optimists, and I don't worry too much actually about the country. I think it has self-correcting mechanisms in it, and we're too big. And the people that have the resources and work hard and have the minerals and have the food are people that think like we do. And the people that are trying to put these crazy rules in place need those people to survive. But I think when push comes to shove, the power will shift back to those folks. And I think our first shot of it was seeing President Trump get elected in the first place. People are like, we got to put limits on these people. And I think as things get worse and worse, those people will step up and we'll have another change in direction in the country. So I don't worry too much about it. It gets to the point where really people just won't stand for it anymore. I always tell my family, I said, things don't matter to people till they matter to people, and then change happens. And you and I are students of this, so we're a little bit ahead of the curve. And I think when everybody else catches up to us, that change will happen.
Yeah, I agree too, because we're seeing some of that change happen with that walk away movement. Even people who traditionally considered themselves hardcore leftists are walking away from Antifa, the gun grabbing, the open borders, all of that stuff. And they're coming back to the center and they're saying, hey, I'm the Second Amendment person and I believe we should have a lawful immigration policy, and that doesn't make me a bigot. So again, I see our cup is half full. And Bob, I do appreciate your time. Thanks so much. Can you tell people again how they can sign up for Trade Genius?
Yeah, so go to tradelikeagenius.com. And then you have two options. We have these back to school bundles that are running right now, and they're already discounted for your listeners, Sean. And then number two, if they want a particular product, we do a lot of things with day trading. Then go to the software area and get what we call the day trading money machine. They put in that promo code TG45. They get 45% off the software. And this thing is this thing's money. And so we really been helping people make a lot of money in the market. And we just want to spread the word and have more and more people join us and empower them and not be passive on this, be able to make money through these disruptive times that are coming.
Yeah, and disruptive times are coming, Bob, and hopefully our listeners will be able to weather the storm and be prepared. I think many of them, of course, will be, thanks to information like this. And guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Bob, thanks for your time.
Hey, thank you, Sean. Thanks for having me. Look, talk to you soon.
Yeah, my pleasure. And guys, thanks so much for tuning in. We really appreciate it. For real news 24/7, the antidote to corporate propaganda, be sure to visit us at SGTreport.com. God bless. Bye-bye.
You know what ground zero was for the bombing of Nagasaki? It was Urakami Cathedral. Urakami Cathedral was the largest Christian cathedral in all of the Far East. In other words, the largest Christian church. Nagasaki had expelled the Freemasons in 1926. Later in the 1930s, Japan outlawed all Freemasonry. Remember that Harry Truman, who authorized these nukings, was a 33rd degree Freemason, as well as being the 33rd President of the United States. So Nagasaki was partly also payback.